Today on Better Book Clubs, Lily King's novel, Euphoria. Euphoria is another in my series of my top 10 favorite books ever. Now, I'm not giving them to you in any particular order because it would be too hard to rank them. But after I read Euphoria, I immediately knew it was going to be one of my top books of all time, and I'm going to tell you today why. But I want you to know first of all that I'm not the only person who loved this book. It also won the Kirkus Prize, and in 2014 when it was published, it was named one of the top 10 books of the year by the New York Times. Euphoria is also a great pick in my category of 21st century books that are challenging enough for book clubs to have a really great conversation about. So let me tell you a little bit more about what Euphoria is about and also what makes it a little bit challenging and therefore interesting. The basic premise of Euphoria follows the story of the real-life anthropologist Margaret Mead, who was working in the early 20th century in New Guinea. And King did a lot of research into Mead's work and kind of pulled some ideas from that work and then took off on her own with her own story, kind of created her own tribe and fictional situations in order to write this novel. So it's really not at all, it doesn't turn out to be at all about Margaret Mead, but Margaret Mead's story is sort of the basis on which King built her novel. That may sound a little bit sketchy or politically incorrect, particularly because King has created this fictional tribe in her story. Anne Patchett did something similar in her really popular novel State of Wonder. But what makes Euphoria work, I think, is the fact that King is also, at the same time as she's telling this story, critiquing the field of anthropology in general, the idea that somebody can go out and study someone else's culture from the outside and make valid observations about it to share with the rest of the world. So the fact that King is both telling this story and also kind of interrogating how anthropology works makes this premise work in Euphoria. None of that, however, is what I actually love about the book. Let me tell you one thing I love about it, and that is the opening of every single chapter is either shocking or compelling or somehow draws you into the story and builds suspense from the very beginning. So here's the very first page, the very first few lines of the novel. As they were leaving the Mumbanyo, someone threw something at them. It bobbed a few yards from the stern of the canoe, a pale brown thing. Another dead baby, Fen said. He had broken her glasses by then, so she didn't know if he was joking. Ahead lay the bright break in the curve of dark green land where the boat would go. She concentrated on that. She did not turn around again. Every single chapter in Euphoria starts that way, and every single chapter ends not exactly on a cliffhanger, but making you wonder what could King possibly do next. Euphoria is also full of rich sensory detail that really makes the novel come to life. It makes it believable and credible even when it's incredible, and it's exciting to read. It includes a triangle of three people, a love triangle of sorts, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. There's intimacy, there's shame, there are secrets, all the elements that make for an exciting novel. Another thing that makes Euphoria both interesting and challenging is the shifts in point of view. But it's not one of those traditional novels where the chapter says which character's head you're in and then goes about telling the story, because every time the point of view shifts, the voice and the whole way of storytelling shifts as well. So that's another great thing that makes Euphoria not only interesting, but also makes Lily King really interesting as a writer. King tells us some things at the outset that we think we understand and we believe we know, but she either leads us to forget them or twists them in such a way that when things come around in the end, it's a complete surprise. even if there are things that we feel like, oh, I should have seen that coming. So there are so many satisfying things about the storytelling in this novel. I think that's really what makes it one of my top 10 favorites of all time. So I hope you'll give Euphoria a try either on your own or as a great selection for a read for your book club. I'll be back soon with another episode of Better Book Clubs.